Jeff Teague vs. Dennis Schröder, the inside story of an unlikely NBA backcourt feud. The NBA locker room is a place of contradictions. It's where million-dollar athletes joke like high schoolers, where lifelong friendships form, and where small irritations can fester into conflicts that never fully go away. For former All-Star guard Jeff Teague, one particular irritation stood out over a 12-year NBA career: Dennis Schröder. On his Club 520 podcast, Teague didn't mince words. When asked about his most annoying teammate, he went straight to the point. Most annoying was probably Dennis Schröder. That simple comment reopened the book on one of the NBA's most fascinating, and often overlooked, backcourt dynamics of the mid-2010s. The Atlanta Hawks of that era were one of the league's most balanced and entertaining teams, powered by ball movement, chemistry, and a deep rotation. Yet behind the scenes, the two-point guards who shared the floor, Teague and Schröder, couldn't have been further apart. This is the story of how a playoff contender thrived despite tension at its core, why Teague found Schröder unbearable, and how both players' careers took wildly different paths after their split. Teague's rise to all-star status. Jeff Teague entered the league in 2009 as the 19th overall pick by the Atlanta Hawks. Standing 6'2", he was never the flashiest guard, but his quick first step, reliable jumper, and steady improvement turned him into the heartbeat of Atlanta's offense. By the 2014-15 season, Teague was an NBA All-Star, leading a Hawks team that shocked the league with a 60-22 record and a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals. That year, Atlanta placed 4 players in the All-Star game: Teague, Al Horford, Paul Millsap, Kyle Korver, embodying the team over superstar ethos. Teague was beloved by teammates, respected by coaches, and considered one of the most underrated point guards in the NBA. But while he had the trust of coach Mike Budenholzer and a veteran core, his backup was starting to generate whispers of his own. The arrival of Dennis Schröder. In 2013, the Hawks drafted Dennis Schröder with the 17th pick. A 19-year-old guard from Braunschweig, Germany, Schröder was fearless, brash, and endlessly confident. With his distinctive blonde streak in his hair and a streetballer's mentality, he didn't shy away from challenges, even if it meant butting heads with his veteran teammates. To fans, Schröder was exciting. He had blazing speed, creativity, and a willingness to attack defenders. But to Teague, the young guard quickly became a headache. "The only reason me and Dennis didn't see eye to eye is because he was from a different country," Teague explained. "He ain't understand how ST went. Oversharing, boundaries, and locker room politics." On his podcast, Teague revealed that Schröder often crossed lines in ways that frustrated him. According to Teague, Schröder once showed him private messages from the front office. "He was showing me ST like what GM was saying. The assistant GM was sending his stats like, 'You're gonna be a starter one day.' Your stats compared to his stats. But he was showing me." For Teague, this was less about the numbers and more about the principle. In NBA locker rooms, veterans often expect younger players to earn respect quietly. Schröder, whether due to cultural differences or simple personality, wasn't wired that way. This created tension in practices, film sessions, and even games. While the Hawks were thriving on the court, Teague and Schröder were caught in a subtle power struggle, one fueled by the franchise's eventual decision to move forward with the younger guard. The Hawks' peak and the breaking point. Despite the tension, the Hawks' system covered up personal differences. Ball movement masked egos, and depth chart hierarchy kept Schröder in his role as Teague's backup. But by 2016, the writing was on the wall. Atlanta saw Schröder as the future, and Teague, then 28 years old, as expendable. That summer, Teague was traded to the Indiana Pacers. Schröder became the starting point guard, tasked with carrying the torch for the franchise. The Hawks never reached those same heights again. Teague's departure marked the beginning of a slow rebuild, while Schröder's inconsistency as a starter left the team without a true identity. Schröder's global impact. Though his Atlanta tenure was rocky, Schröder's career has been anything but dull. He carved out roles on several NBA teams, from the Oklahoma City Thunder to the Los Angeles Lakers, often as a dynamic sixth man or secondary playmaker. But it's with the German national team where Schröder truly cemented his legacy. In 2023, he led Germany to its first-ever FIBA World Cup championship, earning tournament MVP honors. The title instantly elevated his status back home, where he's considered one of the most important athletes in German sports history. Eurobasket and FIBA success added a new layer to Schröder's career, one that Teague, despite his NBA success, never experienced. Teague's post-NBA career. Teague's NBA career wound down quietly. After stints with the Pacers, Timberwolves, and Celtics, he signed with the Milwaukee Bucks, where he won a championship in 2021 as a veteran backup. Retirement didn't silence him. Instead, he leaned into storytelling, using his Club 520 podcast to offer unfiltered behind-the-scenes accounts. From locker room drama to personal grudges, Teague has found a second act as one of the NBA's most brutally honest voices. His comments on Schröder were just the latest in a string of viral moments, showing fans a raw side of the league they rarely get from traditional media. Culture clashes in the NBA. The Teague-Schröder saga is more than just a personality clash. It reflects a broader NBA reality, the challenge of integrating international players into a culture dominated by unwritten rules. Veterans expect deference, rookies expect opportunity, and international players, often raised in completely different basketball systems, don't always recognize the subtle ties of American locker room politics. For Teague, Schröder's oversharing felt like disrespect. For Schröder, it might have been simple transparency or even pride. Those differences created friction that never fully healed. Legacy of the mid-2010s Hawks. When fans look back on the Hawks of that era, they remember 60 wins in 2015, 4 All-Stars in one season, a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals, a brief window where Atlanta looked like a true contender. But behind the ball movement and team-first culture, the tension between Teague and Schröder was a reminder that even the most selfless systems have fault lines. Where they stand today. Jeff Teague, 37 years old, retired, podcast host, NBA champion, remembered as an underrated point guard and candid storyteller. Dennis Schröder, 31 years old, still active, World Cup MVP, one of Germany's greatest players, respected for his fearlessness and international success. Their careers diverged, but their story together remains a fascinating case study in NBA chemistry, how two guards, so different in background and personality, could share a backcourt yet never truly connect. Jeff Teague may have labeled Dennis Schröder his most annoying teammate, but annoyance doesn't mean irrelevance. Schröder pushed Teague, challenged him, and ultimately forced Atlanta to make a choice. The Hawks' glory days were short-lived, but they left behind more than just highlights. They left stories, raw, unfiltered, and human. And thanks to Teague's honesty, we now know just how complicated that backcourt really was.